Everybody, this is Dream, and today we have an 11-game slate that starts at 1:30 p.m. So I'm going to try to get this going quickly because I don't want to waste too much time with it only being a few hours away. Before I get started, can you guys smash that like and subscribe button? We do have some weather issues today. Tampa Bay, Detroit game, and Arizona, Minnesota game both have some potential weather issues. Looks like all the games will probably play, but those are the issues today. As my core plays, I have Glasnow, Mountcastle, and Abrams. All right, so let's go and get on our pitchers here. We're going to start with Glasnow for Tampa Bay. He's got a great matchup here. He's also been solid over his last 7 starts, all being over 24 fantasy points. He's only had one game in 12 starts under 16 fantasy points. He's got a great matchup here against Detroit. I think he's a core play. He's a very good start for pitcher. He's going to be very chalky today. Gallen for Arizona does have an interesting matchup here against Minnesota. His K rate has been dicey, but he's facing a team that does strike out a lot. Though they do have some bats that can get to him. He has struggled to score 20 fantasy points in games. He does draw some interesting upside, though, with the particular matchup. Mr. Morton from Atlanta is in play, as he has 20 fantasy point upside, but he is facing a team that has been extremely hot recently, so that is definitely dangerous in this perspective, but he is in play today as he's a decent price and does have that upside, though he does have a lot of risk. Then we're going to look at Woodruff for Milwaukee. Now, he has not played since the beginning of the season. He is coming back from injury, but he does have 2 starts this year. Both of them were over 20 fantasy points. He also has a nice matchup here against Pittsburgh that helps. I don't know that he'll play super deep in the game, but he does have some utility here. And in the 3 rehab starts, he's been really good. So I think he's in play as an interesting option, though he is very risky because he hasn't played in a while. Bradish for Baltimore is in play. He's had some success lately. He does feel somewhat risky versus a team that I do like some bats from, but he does have some good upside in this one, and he's had some good success throughout the year, so he's in a solid place. Tajon Walker for Philly is also in play. He does have a low floor, but he's been getting over 18 fantasy points in 7 of the last 10 games, and he does have some potential to have a decent game here. He does have a pretty interesting matchup here against Kansas City, which he's definitely capable of getting the win and having a decent fantasy output. Then we're going to look at Richardson for Cincinnati. Now, he has not played in the majors yet, but he was really solid in the minors, though he didn't ever go very deep in any game. He's only pitched up to 4 innings a couple times. His biggest pitch count was 49 pitches, so this is a little bit of concern from that perspective, but he is dirt cheap, so he is in play as a potential option, as he's got a nice matchup against Washington, who's been somewhat inconsistent this year, though he is an extremely high-risk Hail Mary play. And then we'll look at Minnesota's pitcher, Dallas Keuchel. He has been out all season. He's been in the minors, though. He's played 32 innings in the minors in 6 starts and had a 1.13 ERA. He is a Hail Mary play. He is in a tough matchup as well, but he's a Hail Mary play, and he has some capability. So I do think he's viable, but he's high risk, high reward. But he's definitely a Hail Mary play. Maybe our catchers, we're going to look at JT Realmuto. Oh, it looks like he's not actually starting, so scratch that. We're going to be looking at Francisco Alvarez for the Mets. He does draw some interesting upside here. He is a home run threat, but he has been inconsistent lately. I do think he draws viable upside, though, in this particular matchup, as he does have some good metrics for it. Then we'll look at the Toronto catchers, being Kirk. He has been somewhat up and down as he's played the season, but he has hit extremely well in his last 10 games, though he doesn't play every game. He does draw good metrics here. I do think he's got some viability. He's been hitting the ball well, and he does have home run potential as well. He's had 2 in the last 10 games, and he's definitely capable of that here. He is definitely dirt cheap as well, which helps a lot when it comes to the costs and stuff like that. Then we'll move up to first base here. Pete Alonso is in play for the Mets. He draws good metrics here, though he's been cooling off a little bit from his big crazy spree that he had for a couple games. But I do like his upside here with home run potential, as he's been hitting those really well. Goldschmidt is also in play for St. Louis, so he has been inconsistent. He's been in a bit of a slump, but I do think he draws some good metrics here, and he's been good against Colorado this season. Vlad Jr. is also, he's out today, so never mind. Ryan Mountcastle is also in play as a core play for me. He's hit the ball really well recently with a .515 batting average over the last 10 games. He also draws some home run upside, which gives him some utility. I do like the matchup as well, and so he's definitely a play for today. That's really good. Joey Votto is also in play. He's been pretty good lately. He's had 3 home runs the last 10 games. He's had 11 home runs in his 37 games he's played. He obviously doesn't play all the time, but when he does play, he does draw that upside for you as a kind of a contrarian play today. Then we'll look at the guys in the second base, and Keto Marte is in play here. He's been inconsistent throughout the year, but he does draw home run metrics today, so I definitely think he's viable. Whit Merrifield does have a tough matchup here for a little bit, being in a bullpen game, but he's hit the ball really well today. The last week or two, he's had 4 home runs the last 10 games, and he's been hitting the ball pretty good with a bunch of multi-hit games as well, so I do like him quite a bit as a good play, and he's a little bit cheap, expensive, but not too much. Matt McLain for Cincinnati has been hitting the ball really well. The fantasy points have been kind of in bunches, though, so he is in play, but he's high. He's very expensive, and he does need to have a big game to pay off. Gabby Torres for the Yankees also in play. He has been pretty good hitting the ball in lots of different ways. He's just been a pretty steady force for them despite all the chaos in the Yankees stadium. Then we'll look at Edmund for St. Louis, and he's nice and cheap, and he definitely draws some good potential here. Though he's not a huge home run threat, he has hit the ball pretty well recently, and he does draw some good metrics and has some multi-hit game potential. Maybe in the third base here, we're going to look at Ella De La Cruz for Cincinnati. Now, he's been extremely up and down, but when he's hitting well and doing stuff, then he's definitely got capable. But he has been striking out a lot, which is definitely hurting his upside. His price is also super expensive, which makes him hard to roster. Then we'll look at Devers for Boston. He is in play today. He's hitting the ball better now than he was early in the year, and he's really improved. He also has good home run potential, so I do like his upside here. Matt Chapman hasn't been somebody that I've really looked at much for a while, but he has a great matchup here. His batting average is leaving a lot to be desired lately, but he does draw home run potential. He's striking out too much, which is a concern on a slate like this, but he is in play. Jake Berger is also in play for Miami. He's been pretty solid throughout the season as a home run player. He's had 5 home runs in his last 10 games. In his first couple games with Miami, he's done okay, and I do like his home run potential today again as well. Then at shortstop, obviously Ella De La Cruz can play here. Bobby Witt Jr. is actually out, so never mind him. Lindor is doing well for the Mets lately. He's hitting .333. He's got good metrics here. He has home run potential, and he's had 3 straight games over 10 fantasy points as well. I really like him and his upside today. And then we'll look at Abrams for Washington, who I do think is a core play as well. He's been inconsistent throughout the year, but he does draw good metrics, and he's getting a lot of stolen bases lately, and that definitely gives him a lot of upside in the plus matchup here against Cincinnati. That's also at Cincinnati, which gives it even more upside. Maybe the outfielders, we'll start with Aaron Judge for the Yankees. He's drawing some good metrics here. He has had 2 home runs the last 10 games. He has been a little bit not great since he's been back from his injuries, but he does draw home run potential anytime anyway, and he has great metrics for this game. Jorge Soler for Miami also in play. He's hit some home runs recently. He does have some good home run potential, but he's actually been getting a lot of hits in the last few games, so I do like his upside from that perspective as well, though he is a little bit expensive. Then we'll look at Duran for Boston. He's hit the ball very well recently with almost a 300 average. He's been really good at having some big games, and he's even managing them without home runs. I like his upside again here in this one. And then Acuna is in play for Atlanta. He's absolutely just killing the ball. Stolen bases, home runs, everything, So he's got all the upside in the world, though he's super expensive today. Then we'll look at Yoshida for Boston as well. Now, he's been really good throughout the season, but he's been a little bit inconsistent. He does have home run metrics, though, today, and so I do think he's viable on this particular slate. TJ Friedel for Cincinnati is also in play. He's been pretty good at home this season with 6 home runs in those games, but I do think he draws some really good metrics in this game against Washington's pitching. And then we'll look at Anthony Santander for Baltimore. He has been somewhat inconsistent throughout the year, but he does have home run boomer bust potential in this particular matchup. And then finally, Alex Verdugo Also in play for Boston as a cheap option who has some home run upside, but he has not hit the ball very well lately. Some sub $3,000 players I can look at is Dan Vogelbach for the Mets, Abasil Garcia for Miami, Danny Jansen for Toronto, but I think he's actually not playing today. Davis Schneider for Toronto as well, $2,700 second baseman, and then Josh Bell from Miami. So with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and have a nice day, guys.